In this video, I'll cover how earpads work, why you need to keep them fresh, and then how to replace or exchange them. And finally, the before and after measurement shots available in the video and also to download from our blog. Coming up! Earpads are basically similar to a room. If you have speakers in a room, the acoustics of the room will dramatically affect the sound performance. So over here you can hear, this is our production facility, obviously you can hear some reverberation going on. We have plenty of diffusion going on, so it's not super reverberant. But if I go out real quickly over here to the hall, well, reverbs or hall effect is right here. And same difference to the other spectrum would be if I go into this bunker over here, hall, which is dark now, but yeah, let me close the door real quickly. Test. You can hear almost no reverberation there, or yeah, well, basically reverb. And the same principles apply to earpads. So that's how they work. They are acoustical chambers for the speaker that you have mounted in a chassis. Earpads work on the same principles as room does. So imagine having these hard surfaces. They will reflect a lot of sound, and there will be some modal frequencies boosting some areas and stuff like that, which you guys, if you ever tried to tune a room, even purposely made room for a studio, it's always tricky. There's always a lot of work to be done after the fact that it's been built. And similar with headphones design or the acoustic design for headphones. Secondly, the size is extremely important. So the inner diameter should cover, an average ear perfectly, but at the same time, it affects kind of the ratio between what the speaker can produce in this room versus the size of it, right? So if the room is like, or the space here in the earpad is like really large, obviously the speaker will have a different result, different resolve basically, and will sound differently. So over here, for example, this is a Deconi pad for something, I don't know. It's made out of pleather, so this one will seal really well around your ear, which means that the air or the sound trapped inside cannot really escape. That will usually result in a higher bass and then some sort of a resonance happening a little bit later, usually between 500, 800, maybe 1 kilohertz area with these kind of pads. Then you have these fully velour pads. So these earpads will not seal as much and will have some sort of flow resistance levels that are lower than over here, which will create a different sound signature, usually a lot smoother in the low mids and the lows. But the trade-off is there in terms of super low frequencies. So anything below 100 will usually be quite out of the picture with pads like that, unless it's compensated by the speaker with a massive boost. But this is a different story. So the material will dramatically change the acoustic impedance and thereby the final sound quality or frequency response. In our case, we are using so-called hybrid earpads, so they are pleather on the outside and also on the inside, but the area that is touching your skin is velour, which acts as a flow resistor, so the air can escape, so we can control how much it escapes, and at the same time we have a pretty good seal, a hard surface, kind of like if the analogy with a room would be there. So it's like a hard surface on the inside, then the walls or the foam in there are kind of soft, but not too soft, not too hard either. And with these little perforation holes on the outside, we are again controlling how much reflections we are going to get from the outside, outer layer, outer wall, if you will, back into the the foam itself and resonating back into the chamber over here. There are different ways of replacing earpads or the systems in place for the earpads mounting. So in our case, it's a fairly simple way of doing that. We have the so-called earpad holder, which is just like a ring with a little bit of a space over here and a small notch to help you put that back on. And over here we have like a simple overleaf that will work and will catch on this notch. So you basically just catch the notch over here, and once you do that, you rotate those back on, and that is that. To take them off, you just grab them over here or anywhere you want, peel them off like that, and you're done. The S4X earpad is slightly smaller in diameter, so it's just a few millimeters, which kind of makes them still fit on the S5, but you'll have to use a little bit more strength to do that, so it's not just going to be a turn on because you will tear it over here, but you'll have to do that, you know, going inside the earpad and then stretch out a little bit this overleaf so that it will catch the earpad holder. Let me try and show this on the camera. So it's gonna be a little bit tight, but it will fit at the end of the day. It will fit. So if you want to change the acoustics and the sound of the S5X, you can do that with these pads, and I'll show you the results, and you can download them from our blog. You can also fit other earpads. This one is a little bit bigger, so just so you know, this one is 90 millimeter, the S4X. The S5X is 95, and this one is from the Conifer. I don't really know which model of headphones. It's not like aftermarket for our model of headphones, but this one is at 100 millimeter size, so it's slightly bigger. It will not you know, it will not seal perfectly. It will be like a little bit of a wiggling room there, very little, but it could work. So if you want to have like a totally different experience, very much not designed by us, you can try other earpads, and I'll have this one in the charts, the measurements as well, so you'll know. Not all the headphones use this method. So for example, Focal, they don't use the overleaf system. They have a special detach and reattach, you know, kind of plastic ring on the pads, and these are obviously perforated, as you can see, and they're made out of velour. There's also just a basic cotton or textile kind of layer in here as well. So there's a lot of tuning that goes into earpads to make them sound as intended. So this one is a fairly nice system, quick exchange as well. Let's check another one, maybe Beyerdynamic. The Beyerdynamic actually comes with two earpads in the package. I think they call them balanced and analytical. Don't really know which one is the one anymore. I should check that. But anyway, they have a similar way, or basically the same way of exchanging earpads as we do. So you grab it at the back, and then you just tear it off. Here's the protection for the speaker, and also that is also like a flow resistor, so they're controlling sound with that, as well as with the earpads themselves. So this one will have 4 holes at the back, and the other one has a little bit more, so that will change how they perform. To put that back on, it's again similar way as we have it. They have a notch over here, and you put it on like that. Again, just turn it, turn, until it's back on. So it's fairly simple, and that goes for almost any headphone manufacturer. It's either an overleaf design like we have and the Beyerdynamic, or it's like a special detach and attach system. We recommend exchanging the earpads every 1000 hours or so, because the foam inside will get deformed by having constant pressure on it. There's also little particles of your skin that will catch in the velour that will affect the sound, also hygienic reasons obviously. So we do recommend you change that. Roughly 1000 hours would be like the sweet spot. What happens if you don't? Well, the bass will drop, the low mids and the mids will drop quite dramatically, and the same will happen with the high end. So anything above 10K will be dramatically changed with worn and torn earpads, or just by being really filthy. Alright, let's do some measurements. Over here I have two different devices. I'll be using just this one for this report. You can find the measurements made on this one as well. All the measurements are available for download in our blog. Alright, so the results are now in. All the measurements are available for you to download from our webpage blog section. You can get all these files to explore and compare on your own. Let's take a closer look. So over here we have all the measurements done. I've been using the S5X, the S4X, Beyerdynamic 7070, 1990 with all the combinations possible. The new Sennheiser 490, the Sony MV1, and then I got tired of this, so it's... Well, the point will get across. The earpads change the characteristics, the sound quite dramatically. So let's just maybe clear all of this. By the way, there is a comparison to our target curve. So the 2022 target curve is visible and available, so you can always compare to our target. Side note, this is not the Harman target, it's not Sennheiser's target, it's not Beyerdynamics, it's not Sonarworks, it's not Waves Audio, it's our own target that we have developed in the past years. You can find a lot of videos on this topic on our channel, how we actually captured Dolby certified room, transferred the response into a headphone, etc. It's quite interesting process actually. So over here the target used was that, and we can see that, for example, the original pads perform really well, really close to the target with the S5X, and then oh yeah, by the way, I did some multiple measurements of the same thing. For example, over here we have the S5X original pads in green. They are slightly brighter than the S4 pads. And then we have the blue one, which are the S4X earpads on the S5X. They don't fit perfectly, but they can be mounted. They have slightly less low mids. They're slightly recessed overall. So they do change quite dramatically the sound, particularly in the mids. So for example, there is 2 dB difference, 2.5, 3 dB difference, and in some areas between the two pads. And we can explore, or we can do that on your own on the blog page, and compare them with. So, for example, the S5X with the Koni earpads made for Fostex, the X00, will have quite a dramatically boosted low end and even the low mids, although this is kind of a detailed scale. So you have, for example, the 60 Hertz versus 200 Hertz. It's just 1 dB change, not even 1, it's less than 1 dB change between lows and the low mids. So it's still kind of balanced in a way. Then we have the velour pads. And as I explained before, the velour will make it possible for the air or the sound to escape the cavity, and that creates a lower kind of pressure levels in the in the low and low mids section, but it is traditionally very smooth in the higher mids. So as you can see over here as well, there is basically no resonancing happening between 1K and 3K, so that can be welcoming in some situations. Then let's quickly explore the Sennheiser 490 velour pad versus textile pad. So the velour pad over here is quite a lot more bassy. They've designed this low arc of bass, which is something that I think was actually lacking in the 600 series. So that is, I think, welcoming, although they do sound a little bit thin over here, but overall are a really good headphone with both pads. The textile one goes 81, 82, 87, so it's 5 dB, roughly 5 dB less bass with the textile or the textile pads. Then we have Sony MV1 stock pads versus brainwaves. You can see quite clearly the high mids are dropped down and the lows are even more exaggerated. So this is a very bass heavy and high-end heavy headphones, very V-shaped headphone. Then we have DT series, and here the party starts because they have multiple headphones that are very similar between, you know, the open back and the closed back. It's kind of from the same family, and you can exchange the earpads, you know, across these models. So, for example, the velour pads are like this on the 1770, and the leather pads will boost a little bit the low end and the low mids section, but there's a strong resonance that comes in play for some reason. Nothing to worry about, really. And then we have the DT 7070 leather pads, exaggerating the low end. And then with the analytical pads, for example, so you can have DT 1770s with the 1990s velour pads, and the bass will drop dramatically, but you'll have extremely nice high mids section over there. Then we have the analytical pads, really nicely tuned, a little bit exaggerated over here, but that is a signature by Beyerdynamic, and it's a beautiful thing that they're keeping it there. So, and I'm ending with the S4X, the stock pads, really nicely tuned, so really nice low end with a small, just 1 dB resonance at 60 Hertz, then nicely tuned and nicely going down into the mids section, so the vocals are very strong over here, and quite a lot of clarity in the mids section, really nice. And then with the S5X pads on the S4X, you're getting a little bit more even low end and translation to the mids and high mids. So basically, if I remove this one, you'll see it better. So it's basically spot on all the way to over here. That's a little resonance at 3.5, and then this here, which comes from the earpads. You're going to see that if you will check all these measurements, you will see these resonances popping up in different headphones, different speakers, different configurations. So this comes from the earpads, from the resonances inside the cavity, and the acoustic impedance of the measurement device, the 711 coupler. So this will move around with different pads, different headphone styles. The resonance at 7, 8, 9, 10 kilohertz will move up and down across the spectrum, and also in the amplitude. So that is quite unreliable. But in terms of anything below 6 or 5, it's basically spot on. So that's really nice. So play around with these, try them out, so-called pad rolling. You can get a lot of these earpads online from Amazon or anywhere. Basically, Deconi is quite famous for making these different kind of combinations of pads. I don't know, explore, have fun, enjoy. I do hope you've learned something new about acoustics of headphones. Stay safe, bye.